And so as far as my vocation went, I always wanted to get married and have a family, and that's what I wanted God to want for me too. So when I was growing up, so that was my dream, but I always had a deep sense of God's existence. And I remember when I was quite young, when I would go into the church, especially when we would go at night for something, and it would be very silent, and I just felt the presence of God very much, and something touched me very, very deeply. And then when I was a teenager, I went through the normal rebellious teenage years, but I became very interested in Marian apparitions and reading a lot about that, and then became quite interested in religion. I never stopped going to church, even if I was a bit rebellious. I used to sit in the back pew and talk with my friend. But so then when I started to become interested in the religious life and this sort of thing in the background. And then when I was in sixth form at Marian, I did religious studies as a sixth form certificate subject, and so we had to do a project. And so one of the nuns suggested we do a project on the Carmelites, and so we came out here to interview them. There were about 3 of us, I think, and I can remember something was very, very attractive about them, but also there was something that I really didn't want to, and so I had this kind of battle. And I can remember they gave us a pile of pamphlets, and when the project was over, I ended up with this pile of pamphlets. And over the years, I had this kind of love-hate relationship with these pamphlets, because I would open them up and start reading the lives of some of the Carmelites, and there was something very, very attractive, and I thought, yes, this might be it. And then other times I thought, no, I definitely do not want to be a nun. I thought, well, they must be quite miserable creatures or something. But then one day I got really mad and I ripped them up. And at one stage I tried I thought, well, God would only want one nun in the family, so if my sister became a nun, then I wouldn't have to be. So I gave her the bit, she gave it back, and she's eventually married. But so over the years I had that kind of, sometimes I thought yes, and then sometimes absolutely no, so I didn't want it. So it was a real struggle. And then I went to university, and I can remember when I was at university, I used to bike there, and I'd bike past this building, Statistics New Zealand, and I used to say, Lord, I want to work there. And I told the sort of job I wanted. And actually, when I finished my degree, I did a novena to St. Joseph, and I got what I thought was the perfect job, and it was exactly what I wanted. And so I started there in 1993, and I enjoyed it. But as the years went by, this thought of a vocation kept coming back, and eventually I'd been there about 4 years, and there was something missing. I was really well paid, it was an interesting job, there were lovely, lovely people, and I was going overseas every year and having a good time, but there was something missing. And I thought, well, what is it? And so end of my about 4th year there, I applied for another job actually, and I got an interview for it. Before the interview, I told them I didn't want to go ahead with it, and I thought, what am I supposed to do? So I decided to do a novena to St. Joseph again, because if you ever want to know about your vocation, he's the man. And so I did that in March, and it finished on the 19th of March, the Feast of St. Joseph. And then in April, it was the Holy Thursday, and it was a strange experience. I can't really explain it, but when I went into the church, we went for an evening of just spending the time with our Lord after the Mass. And when I went into that church, I wanted to get married and have a family, and when I walked out at the end of that night, something had happened in me, and I knew I had to try to become a Carmelite. So I got in touch with my former parish priest. Was actually the parish priest out at Carmel, and so I went and spoke to him one day. It was, and he looked at me, and he wasn't all that encouraging. And then he looked at me and he said, "They don't eat much." It was quite obvious he thought, well, I'm never going to survive. It's not true actually, but and so anyway, he arranged for an interview. So I came out, and from that first interview, there was something I had to, I was really, really attracted then. And so I kept coming. That was 1998, and I came out each month. And then in October, what if a person's got it looks like they've got a genuine vocation, you can come for they may invite you for a live-in period, which is up to 3 months. And so I used to take so many holidays at work that I only had 1 week's holiday owing, but I came for a week. And from the moment I walked in, I knew that this was for me. And so I went back at the end of the week and went back home, and I rang them a week later and said, well, what do I do? I want to come. And so I wrote my letter of application, and then I didn't hear, and then I thought, well, I'm giving up my job anyway. So I did a very stupid thing. I resigned from work, and then a few weeks later, then I heard, and they said they'd accepted me to come as a postulant. So I entered January the 3rd, 1999. So correct. Well, when you come as a postulant, you're trying the life, and they're looking at you and you're looking at them, sort of thing, and you don't wear a habit or anything, you just come in your normal clothes. And so you've got about a year when you're discerning, and then at the end of that year, if they decide that they think you've got a vocation, and then you decide to, you apply. And so there's a year of postulancy, then there's 2 years of novitiate, which is quite a lot more serious intellect. Oh yes, you receive the habit. So actually you have a white veil at that stage. So that was the end of 1999, and then I had my 2 years of novitiate, and then at the end of that they decided still that it looked possible, and so I did too. So then I made my first profession, and so that's a temporary profession for 3 years it was at that stage. So then towards the end of that time, then you're continuing to discern, and I thought, well, this is obviously where God's calling me. But actually it was that final year when I had to make my final decision. It was like, and this often seems to happen with people, all of a sudden I didn't know what God wanted me to do. And so it wasn't all, that this is definitely it. Suddenly everything kind of went blank, and I thought, well, I don't know where God is and that sort of thing. But eventually that decision I had to really make in faith, because you have to apply and then they make a decision. But I can remember writing the letter to the sisters, and I said, well, I'm doing this in faith, because I didn't know where God was. I didn't know what he wanted me to do. And so when they came back and they said yes, then it all just disappeared. And since then, and then I made my solemn profession at the end of 2004, and so then I got the black veil.